Hello, my name is Dr. George Mochocki. Welcome to Human Resource Section 2, Trends in HR. It's just an overview trend. You're either taking me in an online class, you're taking me in a face-to-face class, or you're taking me in a blended class, or you're in one of my websites listening to this presentation. So just give a quick overview about the trends that are going on within the labor force. And like always, if you're in any of my courses or any of my sections or on my channel, you will have access to my concept maps. Okay, so when I look at the concept, the first thing is the labor force. What's different with the labor force? Let me click this on here, move this over a little so you can see you have two types of laborers. Forces within an organization, small to large. Internal, the basic people working for you, and external. And so when you look at people working for you, they have certain skill sets, certain talents, and then you have people outside that may have new skill sets, new talent, depending on where the organization or the company is going. HR has a big input on this because if you take me for organizational culture, it basically helps you understand the culture that's presently in your company or your family, if it's a small family-owned operation, and how do you want to expand it, and what kind of culture, what kind of individuals you want to be able to bring into this new culture. But where do I get these people? Either within or without. Okay, both have its pluses, both has negative. So it depends on the business and the operation which one you favor one over the other. They're both as effective. Some better if you're looking at morale and commitment to the organization. Okay, now what about the change in labor force? Let's look at the first one here. I'll take these off here so you can just see that in here. Okay, when you look at the first labor force is HR professional. You know, HR professionals, if you statistically look what's happening on with the HR department as a whole, you see that the number of HR representatives are going down. And they're not really going down per se, because what's happening is some outsourcing and restructuring of utilizing HR effectively came into limelight when the economy took a downturn. We had more people than we needed, and where do we utilize these individuals, and should we basically have them doing what we are hiring them for? So in a nutshell, what's happening, you have companies like Hewitt up in Illinois, Deerfield, area. They basically do all benefits, so they know your 401, you know your medical, and they have account representatives set up just to do those benefits. Those are very beneficial. So now that's an HR function, you know. So how many dependents you have, what's this, and they never really were expert on all the ins and outs of the benefit as a benefit manager would, because that's all they focus on. So now with the HR individuals that we want in an organization are those that have communication skills, those who are arbitrators, for lack of a better word, know how to bring two parties that are opposing each other and get them to work together to seize the other point of view, how to bring employees and management together, how to find the right employee, how to retain them. All this is basically happening. So that's what's happening with HR professional. Aging, and you got the old time HR professional, have to, you know, very strict, very rigid, have to be able to accustom how to interview and work with the Generation Y millennials to come in there, and because they're a little more outgoing, a little more upbeat. They still provide quality work. It's just a different way how they view organizational life, how they view the fit, and how they want to be part of an organization versus then the baby boomers. Okay, so that has to change. Organizations struggle. You know, many managers are older or younger, or they're retiring, and now you have a younger manager pool that's basically because they had the skill sets and the training and education, and that pool is the pool that the workers are working for. This younger manager are basically the older managers. So there may be some kind of conflict, but how do you get both to work together? And HR will find ways of training or educating and working between the two different parties or culture. Okay, and mentoring. How do I understand younger people, and how do younger people understand me? You sometimes have a mentor, or you put them together in teams, a baby boomer, Generation Y, or Generation X, and Generation Y, whatever. Okay, diverse workforce. If you look at diverse workforce, now you've got different cultures. Even within the culture, you know, different generations, you have different slangs or different words or different music that one understands, and that's to that culture. So there could be some communication issue. But now let's talk about the different cultures. I'm Polish, English is a second language for me, but I'm Russian. It's close, I can understand some of it, but I'm Chinese, what I mean? So it's a little different, and we have different manners and what do you call it, understanding of what is right or values or morals within an organization, within the culture. So, how do I develop concerns? How do I do performance appraisals? In a lot of cultures, in America, we want the individual reward. I want this. But we're trying to get the individual and team. In some countries, if I just say he got the individual award, they're going, no, I want the team. I always believe in the team. I'm part of the team. I'm not an individual. That's their cultures. But how do I bring them into saying in the U.S., or in our company here, we basically give you both individual and team performance. They pick up real quickly. Most of them, the money's there. All right, high performance work system. What you're going to find out, the companies who after 75, like we had in chapter 1, start getting larger. If you have a professional HR, human relations, they're monitoring the pulse of the morale. They're monitoring what's going out there. They're talking to managers. Which way should the organization go? So we have the right employees in there. How do we empower employees? How do we teach employees empowerment? How do they know how to make good decisions? Never made decisions. How did they start? How do we bring technology in? And all that is HR has a hand in it because they're dealing with people. I bring in new technology. If it's too complicated, they're going to stress them out. They're not going to be as comfortable. They're not going to be as proficient as they should be. How do I introduce new technology? How do I bring in different culture? How do I bring different generation? How do I bring a different person from a completely different background into this organization? Or similar competitors. All these are HR functionality. Knowledge workers, if you really look at it, knowledge workers, you need both. I need to have the conceptual knowledge, what you learn in college or a lot of some of the other courses you're taking, either through a consultant or small businesses that do specific training for that discipline or aspect that you need more learning from an outsider. But what's happening is they understand the words. What you see schools and colleges are struggling. They have to have the conceptual idea, but now that you have, I'm a practitioner by trade, which basically means I take the theory, the concept, and I want to implement it, not in more theory, take this and now be able to utilize it within a process or changing employees or helping employees learn or helping an organization become a learning organization. But there is a shortage of people in business services, in health services, in engineering, in management. Again, management, not just look at the numbers. How do I manage individuals? How do I manage a diverse workforce? HR and management work together. They have the skills, the training, and I tell them, here's my concern with my employees or with my management or even with myself, and they'll try to find a way to help me overcome that or learn and understand. So overall, the team becomes stronger because we in the United States and or U.S. businesses, what makes us strong is we have people from different backgrounds, different cultures, different generations, and somehow we're able to make this all work and come up with new ideas and creativity. But it's not done just by osmosis or by sheer chance. It has to be utilized through HR and management working together. Employees empowerment. Remember again, empowerment. You have some employees who never made a decision in their life, and now they're empowerment. Tell them how much they could do on their own. Jim said, if a customer is off by the price says the customer says, hey, this is $3.94, and the machine says $3.97. One item, I got 10 customers in the back. I'm not going to argue for 3 cents. Call. Yeah, I could make the adjustments up to $10 or $15 if it makes sense, and I understand that there's something the issue to move the customer along to satisfy and empower the employee. But you have to give them the ability to know their boundaries. They have to be able to understand how do I approach this. When do I give $10 and when do I give $1? And what are the criteria? Okay, and HR helps in that. Employee engagement. The more you can get employees engaged in the work, and HR is the one. The first person a new employee remembers is their HR representative, and the last person if they're showing them out or if they're retiring or changing jobs. So a lot of times the HR individual makes contact. How you doing? Is everything doing well? Remember, they were part of the process of hiring the individual. I want the individual to be able to engage within the company, with the policy, with other employees, because now they're part of the team, so they feel like they're, when we talked about Maslow, you read about Maslow, Herzberg, is not only the job content, but the socialization, the social, we all, we're people, we like to be in teams, we like to meet with people, and we like to be in isolation by ourselves. Some do, you get very few people want to be all by themselves, we call it, but that's fine, I call them business hermits, but they have a different, that's the exception to the rule. And even those individuals have to be part of the team in some form. They may not be the real close team member, but they still have to work within a team environment. Okay, teamwork, again, mostly teamwork is how do I get people together. That's where management, HR comes together, because HR really does some training on how to do teamwork, different verbal, different skill sets, different personalities, and you put this in the classes I teach. I always create teamwork. There's a software called CATME. It's a software by the academic side. It's a software there's some training on, and it basically is comprehensive assessment of a team member's effectiveness. So it helps you form the team with different criteria you can select, and it also does what do you call it, has a peer evaluation, and not only tells you how the other members or 360s evaluated you, but also what strengths and weaknesses and how to overcome. A very good program. You can look it up at CATME, CATME.org. Okay? And quality management course, methods and processes, total quality. You have a department at the end as a check and balance, but what you have to do with part of HR and hiring people and training and bringing the right individual, that he or she is a perfectionist, not to a point where it becomes obsessive, but total quality is part of it. They do a good job, they do an effective job, and do it properly and ethically, and utilizing the components and the tools provided by the organization. So it has to be in bed. I don't want to give away. If I'm a chef, I don't want to do a bad cake, because that one cake is the first time you ever tasted your cake, and never buy this cake again. All right. So remember, total quality should be part of the whole process and everything we do. Merger and acquisitions. What happens when two companies come together? You have different employees that are doing similar work. Which employee stays? Which processes don't? HR is involved in the transition of bringing two people, two families, if you want to look at two different cultures together, and finding that common culture, and then basically adjusting the rest into the culture, or seeing what part of the culture does not make sense for this new culture that's being developed. All right, so and again, if there has to be that we have too many individuals doing the same task, HR is part of the separation process within an organization, and that basically tells me how do I fairly, ethically, and respect separate from an individual from my process. Not that he or she's any problem or anything else. It's just your skill sets, or I've got too many same skill sets, and it's like moving furniture. And I don't want to be that callous, but if you look at you have a new member come into your house, you're single, and now you want someone to pay the rent, and you have another party comes in, male, female, doesn't make a difference, or two other individuals come into your apartment, and now you have to arrange. They all have furniture. Some of the furniture goes, some of it stays. Which one has better furniture? Which one makes more sense? It stays. The other stuff you either give to somebody else, or you try to find another place or another home for that. Okay? And HR does a lot of that. Remember, it's you're trying to change the process as long as your employees has a process, because that's the new vision and the new commitment. I as an employee and you as an employer, as long as you could meet the services and the qualifications that are utilized by taking professional code classes, improving your skill sets or learning new skill sets, then you're employed with my organization. Bottom line, if you can't satisfy this, we part, and maybe down the road you could come back. But in the meantime, I need somebody else who has that skill set. And you still say, well, I got the skill sets. Look, you're expanding. There's a lot of companies who are still stagnant or still utilizing your skill set, and you'll be rehired again. We sure have to do the training, the interview, and that's your exit. All right, versus somebody that's being disciplinary and I'm letting go because of insubordination, theft, or aggressive behavior or whatever, or sexual harassment or anything else on it. Okay, now re-engineering and reorganization. Re-engineering, as the organization grows, you have to fine-tune and tweak it. As you get your family, you get another person in, you get married, you get some kids, or you bring in a dog, you bring a pet or something else, and now the family is growing, you have to rearrange again to meet with a different lifestyle or different commitments to the family. That's what happens in a company. You have to rearrange and make sure you have the right individuals in the right place. And how do you do that? Is by HR saying, here's the individuals we have, here's how I train them, I know this is coming down the road, let's prepare them and develop them now so we have the resources we need at the time. Now, outsourcing. Outsourcing, basically, when I outsource, could be outsourced to another department that's slow, and I want to keep them working. We're still underneath the same umbrella, the organization, or different departments, or different stores or locations. I can bring them in. I'm slow here, but you really need help. Transfer them in for a little bit, so we still keep the morale of the employees up because they still work. It may not be into their ideal location, but it still brings in a paycheck and still have a commitment to the organization. And that's the flexibility of individuals I'm looking for when HR is fighting. Expanding to global markets. Again, if I'm an expat going to Japan, or I have managers coming here, they have to understand the cultures and what's required here by our laws, because we have to abide by the host laws of the country that we're working in, and vice versa. I'm sending someone to Japan or China, or India, or Mexico, or European Union, or France, or Germany, whatever. When I'm sending them, usually that individual, we give a lot of training, a lot of companies give training so they're prepared for the culture. The issue is when the individual goes there, they bring their family or their loved ones over there, and they don't have the support structure, and they're basically going, we have to stay here, the kids hate working here, they can't have any friends, they don't speak the language, you know what I mean? So after a while, that pressure brings the person back, because usually when you go overseas assignments, about 2 or 3 years, you have to understand the culture. When I have Japanese students, Chinese students coming into my classrooms or into some of my workshops, they basically want to understand, how does American think? How does American think? How does a business American think? Then how does consumers think? What's the culture? You can't get that by going there. It's like going to Disney World for one time and figure you understand everything about Disney. You don't understand the tunnel. There's a whole different culture that's not the entertainment culture, but actually the workers that makes that all happen. Okay? But that's part of the expanding thing. International assignments, I tied the two together in there. Information system. Remember, HR technology. When we look how I bring workers in, and I look at which workers stay, and I look at when I make team management, it comes to HR and say, hey, I need this kind of work. I need someone who's been in marketing, engineering, construction. We're going to come up with a new process. They could go through all these files, taking forever. Everything is all done electronically. They type in the criteria like you would be in a Google search. When you went in their within their organization, pops up George's name, Sally's name, whoever's name's in there, and you have those individuals, and you look at the personal skills, and then you get the individual. So you narrow this big list of people, and there's no way, when you only have 5, 10 employees, you know what the other employee is doing. When you have 75 and higher, it's hard to keep track what each one is doing, what skill sets they had. You only know that individual in the department you're in, unless you get really close to them, but a lot of times you just know, hey, they're engineering, I was an engineer. I didn't know he also is an accountant by trade, or he's a journalist, or he's a writer, or he's an English teacher, or whatever, or historian. Okay, so we have that. Again, electronic management. When I'm looking at this digitalized information, ties in with this other one, information system. Having access for your employees to see the stuff that's in their age, their college, their education, to make sure it's in there. You don't want to change any disciplinary, but they have some access in there to make sure it's got, and get them used to it. So that if they have another family member, they want to change some of their profile, something happens, they could also have to put something in there. The relationship between employment and employment relationship from an employee, whether it's management or hourly worker. HR has a big input on there. They know for this Generation Y, for lack of words, they're going to be more flexible. They're good hard workers. They're good quality work, but they come across a little differently. They're outspoken. outspoken. They'll challenge you and ask you why, or you want to know why. They want to make sure. They want to understand the reason because they want to contribute, and they search the internet. They know a lot of things. They know how to do some of the researches, some of the information. So that's good for you. So now you have to be an HR rep. You can't be too strict, too strong. You have to kind of be a little bit more flexible because they're not only when they look at you as you're interviewing an individual, and he or she may be a talent that'll push your company over, but they look at you and say, man, you're a real stiff neck here. I mean, geez, it's like, versus, and if I have a baby boomer coming with a younger HR, just, hey, that's cool, man, let's do this. You know what I mean? Because you're trying to get that individual, you're trying to find out more about that individual. So, but if the relationship going now for more of the younger individuals coming to Generation Y and X are basically, they're hard workers, but when they do the task, they want to be rewarded now. They want to wait a whole year. Where you get the baby boomers, hey, I put in my time, I had to be a year before I got any vacation. Here, 3 months. And HR's already made those adjustments because those are the workforce. These are individuals coming in there. I want to retain them. I want to sustain them because if I train them and they leave, then I'm losing money. The customer's upset. And, my process isn't working smoothly because no one understands that. Okay, psychological contract, new vision. Organization needs are constantly changing, remember, as a company. And if my needs are changing, my employees' needs are changing. The issue is I'm changing, but I don't tell my employees that they need to have these skill sets. Some of it I could help pay off. Other ones I expect them to get on their own, like college, or sometimes, I may have some tuition reimbursement, but some training is part of professional growth. Some companies pay for that. Some you have to do on your own to maintain that level of expertise. But HR should be saying, here's what we'll pay for, here's what we're not, but we're down in the next 3 years, you have to have at least a 2-year degree. You have to have a bachelor's. You have to have a master's. Or you have to have a PhD, okay? Versus the traditional one, I come to work, I got security, I'm happy. Those change. All right? And need for flexibility, outsourcing temporary contract workers. Someone gets sick, how do I bring them in? You don't want to outsource, you want to insource. Sometimes your organization, you have more people, but you say, hey, I could do the work for somebody else, and you see contractors, road construction contractors, they didn't get the bid for the highway or the state job. What do? They basically are working as subcontractors for the company who did, because a large company can't do the whole job, they don't have the resources. They already play, so only this one gets a little bit more because they're the lead for the management, and the ones compiling the activities, and the other ones are just working as subcontractor them at a lower cost, but they're still being effective. Okay, so remember flexibility, everything else. Well, that's it for our second section, or chapter 2, whatever you want to call it. And it's just general trends in human relation. Remember, as people change, as culture change, and human cultures and relationship could change depending on the demographic or geographic area that you're working. It could be as small as in a neighborhood that's changing. Now I got to get a different type of individual. They're bilingual. They understand that I got to change something. Or the company's workforce or the technology now. Manufacturing's coming back, but manufacturing I need individuals who have some basic computer skills. Programming, you understand what's the variance, what's this, and how to program something. Well, it's Generation Y and X because you're at the smartphone and all the other technology. You could pick up real quickly on the technology side. You just need to understand the process side. All right? So my name is Dr. George Mochocki. This is Human Resource Trends in HR, and I'll see you in our next section. Bye.